Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been well forever since my last confession. That's because I'm what you'd call a proud heathen, and I'm not alone. All over this lonely planet, people are leaving the comfort of the pews to strike out on their own, guided not by the light of the Lord, but the darkness of their doubts. But which godless lands are most forsaken? Grab your travel crucifix and join me on a quest to find the most faithless places on earth, where even the holiest water can't save the unbaptized masses from damnation. Our journey spans the globe from Europe to Asia and beyond. Just don't expect the natives to take kindly to your attempts to save their souls. After all, the road to atheism is paved with rational intentions. So you want to know about atheism, eh? Well, grab a drink. This could get interesting. Atheism is basically the lack of belief in deities. As an atheist myself, I don't buy into the whole higher power thing. No invisible man in the sky for me, thanks. Some atheists are more aggressive in their disbelief, actively denying the existence of gods and calling out religious nonsense. Me, I'm more of an apathetic atheist. I just don't care enough to argue about it. As long as you don't try to push your beliefs on me, believe whatever makes you happy. Atheism comes in many flavors. Some believe in spiritualism or an afterlife, while others believe that this life is all we get. There are atheists who still celebrate religious holidays and traditions, and atheists who want nothing to do with any of that. The one thing we all have in common is a shared disbelief in deities and the supernatural. For some, atheism brings a sense of freedom and personal responsibility. For others, it can feel isolating in religious societies and communities. But with roughly 500 million atheists worldwide, non-belief is more common than you might think. So next time someone asks about your religious affiliation, feel free to tell them you subscribe to none of the above. Just be prepared for the barrage of questions that are sure to follow from perplexed believers. Atheism may be simple in concept, but for many, it remains a complex and controversial choice. Let's get into the most atheist countries in the world. First up, we have Israel. I know, I was shocked too. You'd think the self-proclaimed Jewish state would be a bit more into that whole God thing, right? Turns out 65% of Israelis don't buy what the Torah is selling. Maybe after a few thousand years of oppression in the name of religion, they're over it. Can't say I blame them. The land of fjords and socialism. Norway scrapes in next with 70% atheism. When the state religion is as dull as Lutheranism, can you blame them for sleeping in on Sundays? At least they get plenty of hygge coziness to make up for it. Down under in Australia, 70% ditch religion in favor of footy, barbecues, and tinnies at the pub. Smart choice, mates. With over 200 sunny days a year, why waste them in a stuffy church? My ancestral homeland, the UK, comes in next with 72% non-believers. Centuries of religious war and conflict will do that to a country. Plus, have you seen what the Sea of E considers cuisine? I'd become an atheist too if it meant escaping fish and chips served with mushy peas. The Slavic states of Estonia and Latvia leave religion out in the cold, with 72% and 75% atheism respectively. When for centuries God has meant oppression by conquest under the Russian Tsars or Soviets, atheism probably feels downright liberating. In the end, while some remain devout, many of us would rather forge our own paths to purpose and meaning. If God isn't your thing, don't sweat it. There are plenty of like-minded folks from Melbourne to Moscow and beyond. Find your tribe and get your hygge on. Those Nordic countries, man, they're just too cool for God. When I saw the survey results on atheism around the world, I wasn't shocked in the least to see Scandinavian nations topping the list. Iceland came in first, with over half the population thumbing their noses at religion. As an American, that level of irreverence both frightens and intrigues me. I mean, how do they fill that God-shaped hole in their lives? Do they just eat more fish and listen to depressing music? Norway and Denmark weren't far behind Iceland, with around 70% of their populations describing themselves as non-believers. Look, I get it. If I lived in a socialist paradise with stunning fjords, universal health care, and a standard of living the rest of us can only dream of, I might start questioning whether I need some higher power too. Interestingly, while atheism dominates in Scandinavian cities, some rural and coastal areas remain more religious. But church attendance, even among believers, is low, around 8% in Norway. It seems even the faithful can't be bothered to show up for services when there are mountains to hike and glaciers to explore. Overall, Scandinavians seem to have found purpose and meaning through close community ties, appreciation of nature, and a dedication to hygge, that cozy lifestyle of candles, knitted socks, and cinnamon buns. While religion may provide life's answers for some, Scandinavians appear content, not worrying too much about questions of meaning or eternity. They're too busy living enviously good lives in the present moment. When it comes to a lack of religious belief, Asia is leading the pack. Two of the most populous countries on the planet, China and Japan, are overwhelmingly atheist. In China, a whopping 91% of people claim no religious affiliation, with over 1.4 billion citizens. That's a lot of atheists. The few religious folks are mostly Buddhist or folk religion believers. The Chinese government officially espouses state atheism and communism, so I guess they're just going with the flow. Japan comes in at a close second, with 81% of the population atheist. Like their Chinese neighbors, the religious minority are primarily Buddhist. One Japanese man was quoted saying, "The Japanese believe more in Godzilla and Pokemon than any deities." Can't say I blame them. How did these Asian powerhouses become so irreligious? Historically, Confucianism and Buddhism have been influential in the region, but in a more philosophical sense. Actual religiosity never seemed to take strong hold. Also, after World War II, there was a push to modernize in both countries. Maybe believing in science and technology seemed more forward-thinking than ancient faiths and superstitions. Whatever the reasons, China and Japan are leading the world in atheism. While some Western nations are becoming more secular, they've got a long way to go to catch up to these Eastern atheist utopias. If there's no afterlife, you might as well make the most of this one. Maybe China and Japan are onto something. A life free of religious restrictions and devoted to worldly pleasures. What could be better? Looks like I'm moving to Asia. You know, as an atheist myself, I can't help but feel a bit of pride in seeing more and more people ditching religion. I mean, some of the places on this list really surprised me. Who knew the good people of Israel were so skeptical? Goes to show you can't judge a country by its stereotypes. Still, the rise of atheism on a global scale gives me hope that one day we might live in a world guided by reason and empathy rather than some old book. Many non-religious folks argue that atheism promotes independent thinking and helps create a more just, equitable society. Can't say I disagree. Of course, some religious leaders claim that atheism will lead to moral decay and a lack of purpose, as if the only reason people behave themselves is because they think some higher power is watching. What a dim view of human nature. For most atheists, treating others with compassion comes from recognizing that this life is all we have, so we should make the most of it and help each other along the way. Whether atheism continues its march across the globe remains to be seen. But from where I'm sitting, a world with less religious conflict and more humanism sounds pretty good. So keep questioning, keep thinking for yourself, and keep being kind to others. That's a philosophy we can all get behind, religious or not. Well, there you have it, folks, the most godforsaken places on this lonely planet of ours. But before you go booking your one-way ticket to the heathen promised land, remember that people are people wherever you go. Sure, some countries may have a higher percentage of atheists than others, but we all put our pants on one leg at a time. Except for those showing off their yoga moves. Whether you worship a deity or just try to live a good life, we're all seeking meaning and community in this chaotic world. Except for Karens, no one likes them. But for the rest of us trying to get by, a little more understanding could go a long way. So maybe hold back on judging those godless countries too harshly, and say a little prayer for me as I wrap up this article. I'm gonna need all the divine intervention I can get dealing with the comment section. Amen.